Madam Secretary, if one of these children are placed with a relative in the United States, do we check the legal status of that relative?
That is not a part. In terms of the legal status with regard to their immigration status, that is not something we do with regard to the legal status that is relevant to what we believe is the safety of the child, and there are a number of conditions that we're guided to.
So are we in fact turning children over to people here illegally?
We do not know the answer to that question, but we can assume.
Well, I think we should know the answer to that because the likelihood of them showing up for a hearing is 0. If the person who's taking care of them is illegal, I doubt if they're going to bring them to a deportation hearing or any other kind of hearing. So I'd like to see that changed in our law. Mr. Secretary, is this problem a result of failing to pass comprehensive immigration reform, or is it something else?
Senator Graham, if I may, to your prior question also, before I answer this one, I do not think that removal of the parent who probably has been in the interior for years is the answer to dealing with this current situation.
Ms. Secretary, it's all about signals here. You're right. You're trying to say we're going to tell people back in these countries, stop this, and the best way to stop this is to send the kids back. I don't think you're reinforcing another bad problem. When you don't check the legal status of the person, there is 0 hope they're ever going to get into the legal system because the person that you've turned the child over is illegal themselves, and you're just compounding a problem. I'm pretty far out there on reforming immigration, but I think you're reinforcing bad behavior. Now, to my point, is this problem a result of a failure to pass illegal immigration reform, or is it something else?
I believe it is essentially 3 things. The conditions in the Central American countries.
Which has nothing to do with immigration reform.
The reality of how we treat these kids pursuant to the 2008 law.
Which has nothing to do with immigration reform.
And the misinformation that is being put out there by the smuggling organizations about the current state of legal play.
I agree with you with all 3, and it has 0 to do with.
But I do, Senator, if I may.
I want to pass immigration reform, but I want to stop this narrative that if we had passed some law, we wouldn't have this problem.
Senator, I do believe.
I couldn't disagree with you more, Madam Chairman. I think this is a result of somebody in these countries believing if you can get here, you can stay. And I don't know what's driving this, but Senator Coons made a good point. They're all coming from 3 countries. Those 3 countries have crime problems, but most of these are kids. So there's this idea that a kid gets a better deal in America than somebody else. And I think it goes back to the 2012 change by the President, but that's no use debating this. Let's look forward. Knowing what we know today, would we write the 2008 law the same? Knowing what we know today, the problem we got in front of us, would we write the 2008 law exactly like we did?
Senator, I can't.
Oh, how can you say yes, we would? Clearly, we wouldn't. Senator Feinstein is one of the world's best senators, nicest people. What she addressed was a real problem. She's talking about A, and we're dealing with B. This 2008 law never envisioned this problem. It envisioned the Chinese girl and other people that were being sexually exploited. I understand not wanting to throw somebody back into the hell they came from, but we're now being overrun by folks. It's hell to get here, and if you agree, I agree with you, to stop it, you got to let somebody down there know stop doing it. If we don't change the 2008 law, then we're never going to get a handle on this problem because the 2008 law had nothing to do with this problem. So I think we should adjust our laws to meet the needs in front of us. So I'm very disappointed to hear that the administration believes after everything we've been dealing with for the last 2 years, there's no reason to change the law. I just find that almost impossible to understand. But let's get to this point about Mexico. The difference between Mexico and these 3 countries is substantively different, right? The time to get somebody back to Mexico is because it's contiguous is different. Is that correct?
Yes, plus we have the legal authority now to offer an unaccompanied child voluntary return to Mexico.
Okay, so there is a screening process when you turn somebody to Mexico. We just don't throw them over the border. We look and see if they apply for refugee or asylum status, right?
That is correct, sir.
So I think you're onto something of trying to create similar conditions for these countries as to Mexico. In that regard, I think you're pursuing a good solution. But I think
that is what I said earlier.
Yes. Fundamentally, we got to change this law. We're nuts if we don't. And as to Senator Reid's problems, we're nuts if we don't go after these groups. We need to make their life hell. We need to get the Mexicans and every other group, form a task force and hunt these guys down and put them in jail. It should be like a military operation because it's a national security, humanitarian threat that I haven't seen in a very long time. And I think our response, our sense of urgency is woefully inadequate. And it's not just a money problem, it's a will problem. We need to have the will to do something about this stronger than those who are abusing the law and abusing these children. Thank you.